After the holidays, there's so much to clean up and get ready for the coming year. This leaves me exhausted and a lot of things falling off my to-do list. It's time to lock in, and Omaha Steaks delivers everything you crave to reset after the holidays. An order from them means having high-quality Omaha steaks on hand at all times. I'm a big meat lover myself, and I always go with medium rare. But there's also plenty of poultry and other options available. Omaha Steaks offers unrivaled quality and variety, and every bite is backed by their 100% guarantee. A family-owned company with over 100 years of expertise in the meat industry. Let Omaha Steaks deliver high-quality proteins right to your door. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their end-of-season sale. And for an extra $35 off, use promo code YUM at checkout. That's OMAHA steaks.com, promo code YUM. Terms apply. See site for details. Go to www.omahasteaks.com to get 50% off site-wide during their end-of-season sale. And use promo code YUM at checkout for an extra $35 off. Minimum purchase may apply. Thanks to Omaha Steaks for sponsoring us.
On a rainy night in the big city, the Winter Soldier has his orders, splashing in every step as he bounds from rooftop to rooftop. Bucky knows that the sniper is out there, and he must be found. Meanwhile, Deadshot lies in wait. He isn't clear on who his target is, but is fully aware that when he finds them, he will know. Repeatedly scanning all viable attack points, Floyd knows that his margin for time will be razor thin. The city falls silent for a brief moment as lightning strikes. Both assassins turn at the same time, lock gazes through their scopes simultaneously. In that moment, all is clear to both of them, and the battle is on. This is the Winter Soldier, first Deadshot. Who would win? Hello and welcome to another episode of Who Would Win Masters. I am Sam Proof everywhere. Today we're diving into a showdown that will make the comment section and the late night nerds vibrate. It's the cybernetic super soldier versus the deadliest marksman in comics. I'm talking about Winter Soldier versus Deadshot. Who's got the edge in tactics, tech, and pure grit? Let's find out. Today we welcome on a guest who is a longtime listener, first-time caller. He's an attorney and a dad, hailing out of Mississippi. Welcome, Blake Fulton. Blake, how you doing?
Doing well, Sam. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Thanks for joining us. Are you ready to give Ray a run for the money?
Oh, yeah. I feel like he kind of set me up with this one. It feels like a little bit of a no-brainer.
All right. Why did you pick the Winter Soldier?
Okay, so Winter Soldier has been one of my, honestly, I didn't know a whole lot about him until the MCU. But when the MCU was getting started, that movie was the one that that locked me in. That was absolutely my favorite movie. It has some of the best scenes in all of Marvel and all of the MCU. The elevator scene, the scene with Fury getting out of the car, those are two of the best scenes in the entire MCU period. And I became a huge fan of the Winter Soldier after that, and then ultimately kind of dived into the comic book version of him and got to realize, oh, this guy's really cool. He's got a great, he's got even a deeper story in the comics, and it's fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah. Any scene with Nick Fury is the best scene, I think. It's time for today's Tale of the Tape, brought to you by Mentos. For when you really, really want to intrude somewhere you shouldn't. Yes, when trespassing is in your plans for the night, remember to pack up some Mentos, the candy that won't rat on you to the cops, and that comes with our 100% no ratting guarantee, Mentos, the fresh maker. James Buchanan Bucky Barnes Jr., a.k.a. the Winter Soldier, was a boyhood friend of Captain America's Steve Rogers and faithfully served along him in World War II. He was originally created by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby in Captain America Comics #1 in 1941, but writer Ed Brubaker reimagined him as the Winter Soldier in 2005. Went missing during the war and was presumed dead. However, he had been captured, given both super soldier serum and some heavy brainwashing before becoming a powerful secret assassin. Now returning to somewhat normalcy, Bucky fights for what's right as the hero he always meant to be. Meanwhile, Lloyd Lawton, a.k.a. Deadshot, is a master marksman and assassin from DC Comics. He debuted in Batman #59 in 1950 and was created by David Vereen, Lou Schwartz, and Bob Kane. Originally intended to be a one-off villain, Deadshot was reimagined in 1977 by Steve Englehart and Marshall Rogers to wear the targeting mask and wrist-mounted guns that have since been synonymous with his style. Deadshot is a mercenary who often tells people that he has never missed a shot. A standard villain for Batman and Green Arrow, Deadshot's popularity really took off when he joined the Suicide Squad in 1987. Samesies. That is your tale of the tape for Winter Soldier vs. Deadshot, and I'm very curious how this one is going to turn out. It looks super close, so let's get right into it. Introducing your opponent. This episode, Blake, you will be playing against the man, the legend, the person that LAPD called a person of interest in 2024. Also, he's credited as being the reason that Hometown Buffet stayed open as long as it did. It's Ray Stakenas. Ray, how you doing tonight?
I'm having the best day of my entire life. I know I say that a lot, but I am literally in about 8 hours hopping on a plane to go to Disney World.
Nice.
So I am excited and having a ball. Should I be asleep right now already? Probably, but don't worry about that. This would have kept me up all night anyway, and that's fine. I love the Winter Soldier. How cool are comic books? How cool is that Ed Brubaker can take a character who was just an incidental NPC in Captain America, issue 1, and then bring him back as one of the most BA characters in comic book history? How do you even do? That's crazy. And then the Russo brothers' incredible Winter Soldier movie. You're right, Blake. That's one of my top 5 MCU movies.
For sure.
And at least 2 of the other ones are also Russo brothers movies. It's almost like those guys are super talented and know what they're doing. I don't know. Who can say? And also Deadshot. I love Deadshot. I loved him playing him in one of the Batman video games. He has a little section in there. He's phenomenal. He's a fun character. He's fun for the wrong reasons. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But he's one of those humorless killers that makes you laugh but shouldn't, and you kind of feel bad afterwards. That's what I like about Deadshot. This is going to be interesting because one character has, the short range and a little bit of the medium range with the super soldier serum and Bucky. And Deadshot, if he can get a little bit of distance, could potentially put him down. I don't know how this is going to go, but I feel good and I feel ready for action.
All right, well, I guess it's time to take our first shot. Blake, as our guest debater, you will be going first. You have 3 minutes on the clock, starting now.
Okay, guys. So the first thing I want to talk about is, at the end of the day, let's set the base for Bucky and what he is, especially when so many people out there probably know him from the MCU version, right? And the comic book version is way more powerful. I don't know that I can say the same for Deadshot, but we'll see. We'll see what Ray has to bring. Let's start out with training. Bucky doesn't just have training from one masterful level. He's got U.S. Army training. He's got KGB training. He's got Hydra training. He's got SHIELD training. He's been trained with the Thunderbolts. He's got training alongside Captain America. He has some of the most elite training that you could ever come across. So much so to the fact that he is actually one of the ones that trained Black Widow, not just Natasha Romanoff, but all of the Black Widows. He was a trainer in the Red Room, combat trained all of the Black Widows. He's a master martial artist, a master hand-to-hand fighter. He's got accelerated development and combat intelligence, which is extremely important here because I think this is the type of battle where we're looking at combat intelligence. We're not looking at Reed Richards' intelligence. We're not looking at super plots or anything like that. And I don't know that anybody can quite top Bucky as far as combat intelligence goes because he's been in it so much. And, a lot of times people would say that, maybe the brainwashing hurt, but now that he's free of the brainwashing, I would actually think that the brainwashing helped him. During all that training, anybody that's training or doing any type of high level of training of that nature, the only thing holding you back is your own will and your ability to push forward. He had all of that removed, right? So he's over the top with all of that. He's a master of stealth, a master tactician, a master spy, a master assassin, a master advanced military operator. These are all things that play exactly into the type of battle we're trying to talk about and have here. And on top of that, he's a master marksman. And he's a master weapons. He's a master of weapons proficiency, blades, small arms, high-powered assault rifles, snipers, even Captain America's shield. I'm not going to argue that he has that in this because I'll use feats from later, even though he had it for a significant amount of time. It's if he doesn't have it now and I'm going to use something from later, I'm not going to use that. But he's a master with that as well. And as far as a marksman, obviously if Deadshot's not the better marksman, then we really don't have a battle here. You kind of have to give him that, but I don't think it's that far. At the end of the day, Bucky's a good enough marksman to neutralize other people like Hawkeye shooting arrows out of the air and things like that, where like he's done that like
30 seconds remaining,
like out of nowhere. So he's got all of this master training, so much so that like Wolverine couldn't even track him, or he thought Wolverine actually thought he was playing with him when he was like, "Yeah, I can smell him, but I think he's screwing with me." That's kind of the way. That is the level of tactician and the level of assassin and the level of this type of one-on-one combat training that Bucky has. That's just out of this world, and it's so much farther than anything else one-trick pony like Deadshot's going to be able to bring to the table.
All right, great job coming out of the gate swinging. Ray, your point number 1, you are up. 3 minutes on the clock, starting now.
First off, let me just say, I object. I object to everything you're saying. I've just always wanted to say that to an attorney, so now I feel like life's ambition complete. I don't think I would be the one who would want to tell Bucky to his face that the brainwashing helped him, Blake. I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't want to be the one to drop that news because I don't think it would go very well. Look, we're going to talk about Deadshot. We're going to open by talking about some of his durability because I think he's going to need to take a few hits, take a few shots in order to pull this battle off. Now, first off, Deadshot has a death wish, okay? Not in the more traditional, normal sense, in that he's not trying to die, but he doesn't care if he does. That allows him to push himself a little bit further, a little bit through the pain, and even use that pain to his advantage to work somebody to the place where he wants them to be. This is a guy who was gunned down by cops in the streets and survived. Crazy, I think it was like 4 cops hit him all over the place, and he just kind of walked away eventually. Not great. But now, since that happened, he wears armored clothing. Probably a smart call after that happens to you. And this armor will stop bullets and has stopped bullets. And I would just argue that since Bucky doesn't have the same shot, that he can't necessarily guarantee headshots that are killer the same way Deadshot can, which means that if they're each going to take 2 bullets, the 2 from Deadshot will be fatal, the 2 from Bucky will be survived, right? He's more or less peak human. He's strong, but he's not superhuman, okay? He's probably that Olympic level, prime human that we all talk about. I do understand that Bucky will be stronger. Bucky has that super soldier serum, which definitely will give him an edge in some directions. Deadshot's going to have to rely on his guns to pull this off. But if you're going to need to rely on guns, what better character would you want in your corner than Deadshot? The man, we'll talk about his accuracy in point number 2, but I just wanted to put that out there. Deadshot can take a beating. Deathstroke, a very, good character to compare to Winter Soldier. Deathstroke cracked him into a metal wall, and he was able to keep on fighting. He got hit right in the nose by a parademon and was able to keep on going. He took shock therapy, and he was tortured by Scarecrow.
30 seconds remaining.
That is not a position I personally would want to be in. Let me just go ahead and tell you right now. If you're going to get tortured, the guy with the fear gas is it's already bad enough to be tortured. To get tortured by Scarecrow, that's unfair. You should get some money back when that happens. Anyway, he was able to come through that. He had his nervous system fried by a spectral hit, and he got up and shot the guy down right away afterwards. And the big point here, he allowed himself to be shot in the throat so that way he could get to Green Lantern and land a critical blow.
All right, Blake, you have 1 minute to make counterpoint, starting now.
Okay, so there's a couple things Ray said. So the one thing he talked about was 2 bullets from Bucky versus 2 bullets from Deadshot because of all the armor and the durability. Well, we'll get into Bucky's gear in a little bit, but he's got, he doesn't have to have different guns or different anything like that to be able to have better armor and better bullets. He has, at the very minimum, he's not going to have all the fancy stuff on him as far as big, heavy guns, but I guarantee he's going to have some bullets that are going to be a little heavier that are working in his favor. To that point, he's got, since the Watcher on the Wall arc, he's had gamma bullets. These bullets can hurt Thor. We're not talking about, and it's not a one-off, it's not something he wouldn't have on him. He would keep some specialized bullets to get through armor. So I'm not worried all about the armor. And honestly, if we're relying on Deadshot having durability to withstand Bucky over the course of this battle on a mid to hand or to short range level, we're just not, this isn't even a battle because as you're going to see, because when we talk about some of the enhancements and the peak human or peak human in the Captain America form, which is really kind of low-level superhuman strength. And that's even before we even come to the cybernetics.
All right, really good stuff, guys. Great starting round. We got strength and tactics going up against a will to take the pain to make the shot. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in your point number twos when we come back from this break.
Have you ever searched yourself online? The results can be surprising, sometimes unsettling, let me tell you. Your phone number, home address, and even details about your family are out there, whether you agreed to it or not. That's because data brokers are collecting and selling your information to marketing scammers, basically anyone who's willing to pay. It's the reason these robocallers know your name and why ads seem to track you across every screen. It is a digital nightmare. Well, Aura could be your solution. You cannot conceive of how many different scummy data organizations there are out there. When I used this service, I was shocked at finding out there are hundreds of places my info could be found. Hundreds! And Aura can shut a lot of that down. And if your identity's ever stolen, you're backed up by $5 million in insurance and 24/7 US-based fraud support to help you recover quickly. Look, other services charge about the same, but they only cover 1-2 areas maybe. With Aura, you get it all. Data broker removal, credit and identity monitoring, device protection, fraud support. It's all in one simple app. Aura removes what's already exposed, protects what's not, and puts you back in control. Right now, you can try Aura free for 14 days when you visit aura.com/remove. That's enough time for Aura to start removing your personal information from these data broker sites. Sign up today at aura.com/remove and get the peace of mind that your privacy, identity, and finances are safeguarded. That's aura.com/remove. Certain terms apply. See the site for details.
All right, welcome back. We're going to get straight into point number 2, starting with Blake. Yet again, 3 minutes on the clock, starting now.
Okay, so now we're just going to get into some of his enhancements and some of his gear. So since the Watcher on the Wall series, which has been about 10 years ago or so, he's had the Infinity Formula, which essentially at the end of the day extends his life and aging. But at the same time, it kind of has that same super soldier effect. So he's got superhuman strength, and this is before the arm, superhuman strength, superhuman stamina, superhuman speed, superhuman durability. He's actually withstood superhuman blows from Ursa Major, who is kind of this colossal bear type character. Spider-Man Miles Morales, he's had battles with him where he's taken blows, and he's even gotten punched in the face by Hyperion. Like, this is the Marvel Universe version of Superman, and he's gotten punched in the face by him and tanked it. At the end of the day, we're talking about a durability level that is not something that is anything close to what Floyd has. He's been electrocuted, multiple gunshot wounds. He's got ridiculous agility, reflexes, and balances. He has dodged bullets at close range and from not just from random people, but from marksmen. And he does that on the reg. He's got similar kind of physicals to Cap. He's got superhuman reaction speed. And I love this one. He's stood on the edge of a building with 2 fingers without even wavering, just to show his balance, which I think is important in a match where I think he's going to be trying to dodge a lot of bullets. You throw on top of that, you got all the gear. You got the knives, the handguns, the rifles, the explosives, the grappling equipment. But more than anything, we have the arm and the domino mask. The mask that you see at the beginning of Winter Soldier, the MCU movie, that doesn't have necessarily a tactical advantage, but in the movie, in the comics, it actually does. That, in connection with his cybernetic arm, can allow him to actually have some sensory and mapping arraying to where he can, if he's looking for somebody like Floyd, he can use that mapping and that technology to help extend that. But his bullets and guns have taken down frost giants and other things like that. And that's even before we get to the vibranium arm, which has superhuman strength enough to destroy a cosmic cube, extended reach that has a flamethrower, an electrical discharge, an EMP that could disrupt the monocle that I'm sure Ray's going to talk about at some point. It's got a retractable blade punch dagger. It's got stabilization sensors that help him throw objects. So if he's throwing Cap's shield or even and something as simple as a knife, it helps him have that balance to do
30
that.
seconds remaining.
And then more than that, the arm, I think, as much as anything, is going to be a defensive weapon, because when he gets in close, if he gets in close with the arm and one shot, and I know that Floyd's withstood some stuff, but he's not going to be able to handle that one shot with the cybernetic arm. But the arm's been able to do kind of what you see in the MCU as well. And as a part of, with his connection with dodging, he's able to kind of like hold the arm up and block bullets. And it has kind of an auto reflex system that blocks bullets at all different ranges. And I think that's going to be hard for Deadshot to overcome.
All right, well, let's see if Deadshot can overcome that in Ray's point number 2. Ray, 3 minutes on the clock, starting now.
Okay, so first things I want to talk about that metallic arm, because yes, he could put up the metallic arm to avoid and block bullets, but these are armor-piercing bullets. They're going to go right through the arm and hit him in the face, quite honestly, if he's going to try to do that. But also, that arm is his non-dominant arm, which is important. When you throw a punch as a right-handed guy, you throw a punch with the right hand, which means that he does not quite use that metallic arm, perhaps as optimally in combat as if it was his right arm. That's really, really how I see it. So let's talk about some ammo. Let's talk about some marksmanship. Deathstroke has called Deadshot one of the best shots on Earth. And Deathstroke's been around and he's fought everybody in every country. And he says Deadshot's one of the absolute best. Deadshot wears a monocle that doesn't just analyze targets. It also allows him to not waste any shots. He can look right at Bucky, see the metallic arm right away, break it down with his monocle, and already have a better idea of who he is fighting than Bucky will walking in the door. Not wasting shots on the arm if he doesn't have to, unless it's the right form of bullets. Deadshot uses wrist-mounted guns, but doesn't just use those. He uses more than guns. He's a little bit like Bullseye in this regard. He can basically throw any projectile and hit home. He threw a small rock into the eye of a Russian soldier before knocking him out with 2 punches. He once shot an apple off of Captain Boomerang's head, William Tell style, with a crossbow. This is a guy who knows human anatomy as well. He knows how to cripple spots on the body with his guns, with his techniques, whatever he needs to do. If Bucky does get in close, that's not good. I would argue, though, that Deadshot can take a hit, do a nerve puth shot, do something to get away, get the distance back, and then potentially open fire some more. Now, he can target someone so well that he shot next to the heart of somebody to incapacitate them but not kill them. He shot someone in the heart in a non-lethal place. Amanda Waller was the person he did that to. Great targeting. He shot through the seam of a power-armored suit. He's so good, he could shoot the seam between Bucky's arm and the metal arm and his shoulder and then drop him that way. He could disarm with shots. He shot out Green Arrow's bowstring. He could clear out a whole room of enemies with general ease. He did that to an entire gang in a bar. Once killed everyone in a room with a blindfold on. Couldn't even see him.
30 seconds remaining.
He can do trick shots, ricochet bullet shots, and hit home perfectly without even looking. And he shot down an attack helicopter with a single bullet. Don't tell me that's not going to drop the Winter Soldier. He's also got special ammo that can pierce through 72 layers of Kevlar, car doors, engine blocks, has a grappling hook in his wrist cannons, giving him more mobility, and has explosive armor piercing rounds, enough to blow up a manhunter, okay? Incendiary rounds, lasers too, but I am out of time.
All right, Blake, you have 1 minute to counterpoint, starting now.
Okay, for starters, like the idea that I get he's got some better ammo, but we're talking about a vibranium arm here. This is one that absorbs energy and reflects it back. We're not talking about a regular metal arm. The version we're talking about is he's had at least for over a decade a vibranium arm, and so I'm not really worried about whether or not he can dodge the bullets or block the bullets with the arm. I'm also not really worried about it not being his dominant arm. It's cybernetic. Like at this point, I feel like once you got a cybernetic arm, it really doesn't matter whether it's dominant or not. He's done everything that you could ask him to possibly do with the cybernetic arm, and it hadn't really mattered. And on top of that, like, I know Floyd has got fantastic aim. However, I like shooting the seams out of things. Like that's excellent. But all of his stuff, or the majority of his stuff, is not necessarily in real time. And it's certainly not with somebody that has the combat influence or the combat intellect that Bucky has, because Bucky's usually thinking 3 steps ahead. Most of the time he's outwitting and out maneuvering and out and looking faster like from a combat speed perspective, than people like Spider-Man, just because he can foresee things coming. He knows what's happening. It's not like it's going to be easy person for him to hit like other targets.
We have weirdly enough found somebody with the ability to talk as fast as I do, and it's making me a little unnerved. I'm not going to lie.
I'm telling you, I'm leaving a lot of stuff on the table. I'm trying to fill it in.
Well, I know what that's.
I can tell. You're, I think, the first person who has used more than the time allotted. Right. Somehow, you're talking 120%, I think is how it's working out. Fantastic second round. We've got a lot of new stuff with the accuracy of Deadshot and the vibranium arm and all of that. And we'll see how it all comes together right after this break. All right, gentlemen, it is time for our third and final round. Blake, you're up first. 3 minutes on the clock with your final point. Starting now.
Okay, so the final point I want to talk about is kind of some of Winter Soldier's biggest feats, wins, and opponents, and then kind of the opposite for Deadshot. Some of the ways that Bucky can overcome some of his issues. And so, all right, I'm going to mention this from the start just because I love it. Bucky was found out to be the second shooter on the grassy knoll that killed JFK, and nobody's found out about it. We've gone all this time, and nobody knows that. So but on top of that, he's beaten Red Skull, Baron Zemo, Helmut Zemo. Stayed on par with Captain America, Black Panther, the Grand Director, who's kind of another Cap type character, but he's also gone on with folks that are on an entirely different level. Like since he's become this watcher on the wall, which is replacing others and as basically being the guy that is the first line of defense for the Earth against alien invasions, he's gone up against folks like Loki, Frost Giants. He's killed Frost Giants with bullets. Ares, Hyperion, like we mentioned earlier. But then there's a couple of different instances in particular where, in Captain America Volume 5, Issue 33, he went one-on-one with Iron Man, and he and Tony were head up, nobody got the drop, and he just blitzed him real quick, ripped off his mask, and put a gun to his head. It was that quick, it was over. And that's Iron Man. In the Civil War II arc, he went after Spider-Man Miles Morales. He was able to detect him despite his camouflage. Which is pretty incredible. And they had a pretty good fight back and forth. But the one thing I'll tell you about the Winter Soldier, every time you see the phrase in one of the comic book panels that says training takes over, it's kind of game over, because that's exactly what happened there. It's like training takes over. I could have killed him right now, smashing Spider-Man through the walls. But one of the biggest ones was in Winter Soldier issues 12 and 13. He took on Daredevil, Wolverine, and Hawkeye all at the same time. Wolverine couldn't find him. He'd confused all of his senses. Hawkeye was trying to shoot him as he was running away, when Hawkeye didn't even think knew he was there. The only thing that happened was the comic book panel. You saw him swing his arm behind him with a knife, slice Hawkeye's arrow out of midair without turning around, and all he said was "nope" and kept running. That's the level that we're talking about here. And at the same time, he went at the end of this, he was going those two were trying to stop him from trying to assassinate Daredevil. He wound up fighting all three of them at once. He incapacitated Wolverine. And the only thing that stopped him at the end of the day was Cap got involved, jumping out of a helicopter while he was getting shot and deflecting,
30 seconds remaining
arrows from Hawkeye, and got deflecting multiple arrows from Hawkeye, and being attacked by Daredevil all at the same time. So he did all of that, and it took Cap jumping out of a helicopter on top of him to knock him down. And that is the level that we're talking about, because it was he was on point. This is his zone, combat intelligence in the middle of an assassination type of situation, which is what I think he's going to be going up with here with Floyd in some type of urban environment, one-on-one assassin type of situation. That is what I would expect.
All right, good stuff. Ray, your final point. 3 minutes on the clock, starting now.
I love this. Now, to be fair, he did all those things in a Winter Soldier comic. The comic was named after him. If you put me in an Almighty Ray comic, I'm also juking Wolverine and making Hawkeye say nope. I'm just saying, it all depends whose name is on the cover. Deadshot does it in comics that are called Batman and the Suicide Squad. He rarely gets his own issues, is what I'm trying to say here. Anyway, Bucky Barnes is the Winter Soldier, but he's not that guy anymore in comics, is he? He often tries to restrain himself because he feels terrible about all the things he's done in the past. He tries really hard not to fight as brutally, generally speaking, and which pulls his ability back a little bit, because he doesn't want to kill people if he doesn't have to anymore, because he feels bad. Plus, He's a team-based guy. Bucky is a guy who often relies on other people, whether he be part of the different organizations, the Thunderbolts, S.H.I.E.L.D., even Hydra. Meanwhile, Deadshot works alone. In a one-on-one combat, I'll take the guy who's used to being on his own than the guy who knows he's got a team with him right there, right? So anyway, Deadshot, he has no sense of humor. One of my favorite things I read was a waitress joked with him at late night in a diner about killing the short order cook. He said, I'll do it for $20. And then he went and did it and left $20 behind. And she was like, why did you do that? She's like, well, you said you wanted him dead. What do you want me to do? I'm an assassin, idiot. And in his original story, and I like this, Deadshot was trusted by Batman and the whole town of Gotham because he came from a rich family. They literally shot up a Deadshot signal with a bullseye on it to call him like it was the bat signal. They were just like, he's rich and wearing a costume. Bring him in. He can be trusted. Turns out he couldn't be. And he will use that to his advantage potentially. Look, he tends to put distance between himself and his opponent and then snipe them from a distance. He can do so because he has a grappling hook. I mentioned it before, but he has a strong mobility item to get him out of danger. He fights decently in hand-to-hand. Just to mention it, he took out 4 cops at the same time in hand-to-hand combat. Not that Bucky doesn't have the advantage there. I don't want to pretend that he doesn't. But Deadshot's not a complete pushover is all I want to say. Look, Deadshot uses guns really well at short range. Just because you get in close with him doesn't mean he's going to stop shooting you.
30 seconds remaining.
And those shots are going to happen fast. They're going to happen at high caliber, and you're going to be in trouble if you do it. Look, he got a draw versus Deathstroke in a 1v1. Normally, I would poo-poo on draws, but you draw Deathstroke, that's not too bad. He beat a Luke Cage-type character called The Wall, who could soak a bunch of damage. The Wall was immune to bullets. You know how Deadshot beat him? Bullets! And then he dropped a house on top of him. He shot the unshootable character. And wins over Harley Quinn, King Shark, Captain Boomerang, Green Arrow, and of course, I gotta mention it, Batman himself. Good job, Deadshot.
All right, Blake, you have time for a final counterpoint. 1 minute on the clock, starting now.
Okay, so first off, I'm not worried about him like Bucky. Like, yeah, he's changed, but he's not going to let up against Floyd. Like, that's not the type of guy he's worried about whether or not he kills. And yeah, he's been in teams, but that was much later on. He was an advanced military operator for a long time, going like years at a time undercover just to be able to get the job done. And I'm glad you mentioned some of those folks that you mentioned, Ray, because like, here's the thing. He might have done some of these things, but he's also been dodged by Batman at point blank range. Nightwing has evaded multiple shots from him using aerobatics. Green Arrow's deflected him with arrows with projectile deflection. Katana has blocked some of his bullets with her sword. Deathstroke has dodged and countered him mid-fight and attacked him. And this is the best one, Harley Quinn, who I don't think anybody would say is a master tactician or evader or acrobat or anything like that. And she's been able, and this is in the Rebirth era. We're not talking about back in the day. This is new, where she's been able to evade him, flip a table over until she could get close enough to hit him with a hammer. If Harley Quinn can do that, then like we're not even talking about on the same level with what Winter Soldier can do.
All right, Ray, as our reigning champion, you get the final word. Ball's in your court. Go for it.
This has been a good battle. Blake, congratulations. You came into the Lion's Den and you pulled it off. I don't know if you're going to get the victory. I don't think so. But I think you came in and definitely made a quality name for yourself and definitely had me feeling a little bit of heat during this battle. But I'm going to tell you right now, Winter Soldier is phenomenal. But those people you mentioned, Nightwing, Batman, Deathstroke, those are acrobatic type characters. Harley Quinn. Winter Soldier's not particularly acrobatic. I'm not going to say he can't move, but this isn't a guy doing like jump flips and parkour in the air as he's doing his combat. This is a rough and tumble soldier type who's going to get a good weapon, get a good vantage point, and he's going to beat you with military theory and super soldier serum, right? That's his whole deal. But that's the kind of guy that Deadshot can put down on the reg. This is a guy who, again, yes, he lost to Batman, but more importantly, he beat Batman. And anybody who could say that already gets a leg up in any other conversation we're going to have. The big weakness that Winter Soldier has that Deadshot can exploit is his lack of mobility. Unlike a lot of Marvel characters, he doesn't jump very high. He can't run super, super fast. He can't fly or do any of that stuff. He's stuck on the ground where you leave him. But Deadshot has that grappling hook. If we are fighting in an urban environment, Deadshot can shoot himself up a couple stories higher where Winter Soldier doesn't have an advantage against him, and he can get that gap between them. And from there, if these are just two people shooting at each other from a distance, I'm going to go with Deadshot 10 times out of 10. And the second Deadshot analyzes with his eyepiece that metal arm and kind of gets a vibe for what Bucky's deal is, that's exactly what he's going to do. So I love Winter Soldier. I think he is a tough combatant. I just think Deadshot has this ace in the hole with mobility that's going to put him over the top.
All right, gentlemen, well done. Yeah, this could not be closer, and it's going to take me a minute to think this through. All right, gentlemen, I think I say this every week. This feels like the closest match we've had yet. You both did a great job. Winter Soldier shows up with the vibranium arm, the military tactics, the history of amazing takedowns, including Hyperion. Deadshot never misses, takes the hits, makes the moves to higher ground to shoot again. I'm excited to see what all the fans say because I think we may not see eye to eye, but I say you only have one shot, and it's Winter Soldier. Sorry, Ray. It's yet again.
You think Winter Soldier wins this
I think Winter Soldier takes this one.
What
Blake,
do I pay you for?
You don't, so far.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see about that. Blake, you did a great job. How do you feel?
I feel fantastic. Like, even just getting your vote on the front end is fantastic. But hopefully everybody else will agree because I think this was a fantastic matchup and love doing it.
All right. Can people find you
I hear a little bit more
anyway?
from this.
Okay.
Sam, hold on a sec. Before we get there, I want to hear your reasoning for it. You can't just say Winter Soldier wins. You got to give us a story. You got to give us a little bit of a reason why. No, I want people right now to know what put it over the top for you. Because I don't understand it.
I think, first of all, you said grappling hook just way too much, and it felt desperate. Like that was the end-all, be-all, was a hook on a string. And I'm like, that's not the thing. The monocle was already counterpointed before it even got brought up by the EMP. And, I think it's going to be like a close combat fight. Like Bucky's going to make the ground disappear. He's going to close that gap. And that's where it was for me. So that is my vision.
At least you have explained yourself. People at home, I don't blame you if you're upset right now.
I could see this being one where the fans vote the other way. It was honestly the hardest decision. It was super close. Yeah, I don't doubt that it's going to be either really close on the vote or even go against me this time. And we'll just have to see. And that's the beauty of the show is I am not the de facto vote. You out there have the opportunity to vote me wrong.
What I don't like about you saying that is that the fans have agreed with you every single time we've done the show. And that makes me unhappy. One of these days, you won't be the voice of the people, and I will be raising my hand with a clenched fist in victory.
Let's just hope it's not this time.
Yeah. All right, Blake, thank you so much for being with us. Can people find you online? Do you have socials anywhere you want to share?
Yeah, but not that would be any,
all right,
that anybody would want to look at. Like, I've got a Facebook, but it's for sharing kid photos, and that's about it.
Blake, tell us about a movie or video game recommendation. Give us something to go off of.
Okay, this is really good timing. My girlfriend and I, just last night, she'd been telling me about this show for quite some time and just hadn't gotten around to watching it because it was not on anything we were watching. But if you haven't watched the Wild and Wonderful Whites of West Virginia, it is a documentary about a family, a coal mining family deep in West Virginia, and it is quite the.
Are these the treasure hunters?
No, this is a cast of characters.
Okay.
That is very coal country centric. It's interesting.
All right. It's West Virginia.
It is. I will say it is kind of if you enjoyed Tiger King, watch this. Right.
Yeah.
That's kind of a fair comparison.
I feel like
West
I need
Virginia
to check out at least an
is a
episode
whole
now.
thing. Yeah, we'll take a look. All right, well, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Ray, any last words before we wrap this all up?
Of course I have last words. What, are you surprised to hear that? I got plenty still to say, Sam Proof. First off, can we adopt any of your cats yet? I want the people at home.
No, not yet. Not yet. The kittens,
okay.
We have a few more weeks.
Okay, so by the time this episode comes
That's
out,
true. Probably by the time this is
hit
out.
up Sam at Cute Avalanche and see if you can get those cute kittens you saw in the background. The point I'm trying to make here is I do feel very strongly that the mobility is the key to this battle. Now, obviously, if it doesn't become the key to this battle, Winter Soldier definitely has the edge physically and has some good weapons as well, and I'm not going to pretend it isn't. But I'm not also going to pretend that that arm is indestructible, because it is absolutely destructible. I've seen it happen in comics far too many times to think Deadshot has no look at it in this particular battle. And what happens when Deadshot gets to the third floor of the cafe? What does Winter Soldier do? He gets stuck. He can't do anything about it. He can't get up there. So anyway, that is where I would leave that right there. The people at home, you can go on patreon.com/whowouldwinshow. And if you become a member, you can vote on this particular poll. I'm very curious because I felt strongly that Sam was going to have my back on this one. We're going to have some words in the boardroom a little bit later, I think.
Back and forth.
And especially when you said out loud, if each combatant gets one shot, I go with Winter Soldier. If each combatant gets one shot, I will take the guy with perfect accuracy, Sam Proof. What do you mean?
He just blocks it with the arm and it goes away. It's one shot. Look, I was just
that's
quoting
why
Eminem,
he ricochets off the back of his head. My goodness, listen. Yes, Blake.
I was just going to just try to object to everything Ray just said as extra argument after the fact. So if we could strike that from the record.
I'll leave that to the people of the jury at home. But obviously, if you want to go on, we got our Facebook group, the Who Would Win Battles Facebook group. You can find me on Threads at Almighty Ray 316, same as Instagram, and the Who Would Win Show at Who Would Win Show on Instagram, as well as Threads. Delightful. But that Patreon, I want to hear your comments. I feel like people are going to have a lot to say about this one, and I am eager to see it all.
All right, well, we're going to take a sidebar, and please tune in next week as Ray and I go over your votes and comments to wrap up this battle. I'll give you the official vote tally. And if you think you've got what it takes to sit in the guest debater chair, head over and record a 1-minute video demo of yourself and send it to whowouldwinshow@gmail.com. And who knows, maybe you'll be on the big screen, small screen, whatever, vertical screen next time for Who Would Win Masters. This is Sam Proof on all the socials. Stay strong.
Hi, I'm Kevin Goatee.
Hey, I'm Kevin Israel.
We host Gutting the Sacred Cow, the best and most unique movie debate podcast out there. Why?
Because we invite our guests to pick a film that they find overrated or hate and try to convince us to see their argument.
They must pick a film that is a financial success, widely beloved, or critically acclaimed.
That's right. Some of the films our guests have tried to eviscerate: Raiders of the Lost Ark, Pulp Fiction, Ghostbusters. You can find us on all podcast platforms like Apple, Google, Spotify, and more. And if you want to watch our smiling faces, we're also on YouTube.
GuttingTheSacredCow.com is where you find all of our information. And we look forward to our guests infuriating you when they attack your favorite films.
Are you a geek who likes sports? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. We hope it is good. Welcome to another edition of Geeks Who Like Sports. The Yankees really kind of mailed it in. She's the Goblin Queen. It's legit. Football 101. Take what the defense gives you.
The NBA All-Star Game is fake. The Emperor would absolutely throw Vader under the bus.
Listen or watch Geeks Who Like Sports on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.
This is Ray back one more time, and there is a 1 in 2 chance that I'm very happy with the results of this past episode. One more reminder that if you'd like to join in with the Legion of Audience, you can go to patreon.com/whowouldwinshow and support what we do. That's it. That's the message. Time to start my research on next week's battle. I'll see you there.